Yeah, Ali Madad. The Ismaili Professionals Network, a part of the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board India, welcomes you to Get Job Ready 2021. This is our multi-session series to help you understand the demands of the job market in 2021. We are very excited for today's session, which will be centered around career trends with expert panelists from fintech, digital transformation, healthcare, and gaming. It is indeed my pleasure to introduce you to our moderator and fintech expert, Mr. Keshav Bagri. Keshav is part of the investing team at Bertelsmann India Investments. At BII, Keshav looks after investments in fintech, enterprise SaaS, agri-tech, and gaming. Select portfolio companies which he manages include LendingKart, AgroStar, and Trigo. He is also a part of the founding team of a junior VC, where the team aspires to build India's most loved content platform on startups and entrepreneurship. It currently has 25,000 plus members and a Slack community of 5,000 plus members. Keshav holds an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. Over to you, Keshav.
Thanks, Salim. Firstly, welcome everyone and good evening. Thanks for joining on a Sunday evening, and I hope all of you find the session useful. I'll quickly introduce our speakers before we dive into the session. So our first speaker for the day is Mr. Sunil Jha. Sunil is currently the group's Chief Human Resource Officer at ACG Worldwide. And in his career spanning more than 30 years, Sunil has worked around core areas which include institution building, mission, vision, values, HR capability building, and CSR. That includes activities in the field of health, education, environment, and sports. Previously, he's also worked in the HR team of Indian Express as a Chief Human Resource Officer at BPL Mobile Communications and as Head HR at SR Group. Welcome, Sunil.
Thank you.
Our second speaker for the day is Subir Agarwal. Subir has spent a better part of his career in successfully building digital businesses for both organizations that were born digital or those that needed digital transformation. A large body of work has focused on customer centricity, employee productivity, and ecosystem development. The central theme for Subir has been to reimagine how digital technologies would permeate and coexist with or disrupt the very fabric of an ongoing business. He has worked with marquee clients such as Kotak Mahindra Bank, Maybank, Standard Chartered, Thomas Cook, Indian Railways, among many others. And he's currently the president at Reciprocity, which is an experience commerce platform. Welcome, Subir, to the session.
Thank you, Keshav. Thank you, everyone.
Our final speaker for the day will be Mr. Atif Baham, who is the co-founder of Togglehead Digital Private Limited. It's an agency which had its humble beginning in early 2012 as a 7-member digital strategy agency and has now grown to a 130 plus member full service integrated digital agency. For over 4 years, Atif has looked at all new business and external strategies and focused on agency's growth and ensured its rapid expansion, keeping in mind that clients get the best creative value. Today, he oversees the digital unit, which consists of creative, account management, and solution teams, heading all the agency's accounts and campaigns. Great to have you also on board, Atif. Welcome to the session.
Thanks, Keshav, and good evening, everyone.
And we'll keep having poll questions in between the session to keep it interactive. So if we could have the first poll question, and would request everyone if they could provide their responses to that. Okay, great. I think we are at 75%, but broadly, I think for the rest of the speakers also, we have a bunch of people from the BFSI space. So around 30% are from banking and financial. 9% is IT products and healthcare each. And then we have in IT services 8%, and the rest are then in other sectors. So good to have a distributed bunch of people across various sectors. Let me start with the first question for the day will be, what is the future of jobs?
Quite a broad question, Keshav. Thanks for that. So See, I think we need to tackle that question in two broad ways, right? The first being, what is the current scenario and where has it evolved from over the last couple of years? So I think with the entire advent of a lot of machine learning, automation, AI, there has been definitely a reduction in certain job roles, and that will continue to move forward. I also believe the current scenario, we actually have been through a pandemic over the last 2 years. For the next foreseeable future, also, it looks likely that there are going to be rippling effects of this. And that has actually sped up the entire automation process as well. And more than automation, digitization, which has also led to organizations and brands reaching out to consumers directly via digital mediums. So they've actually cut out a lot of redundant job roles in the middle, which could have probably had that touch and feel, face-to-face quotient, which is no longer really required. So I think the future holds quite a questionable phase for a lot of people, a lot of roles. But I believe we would need to adapt. We need to be flexible. We need to focus on certain qualities of human trait, which are empathy, creativity, qualities which can't really be replaced. Creativity, and something that probably a machine or automation cannot really help solve.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense, Adit. Thanks for that. What would be your views, Sunil, if you had to add to that?
Let me see this question completely in a little different way, which is to say the glass is half full and not half empty. Because as it is, people are going through this whole scare of saying there are no jobs, but that fact is not true. Just to let you know that in the last year, I have filled up 468 positions across India and worldwide. So I am saying there are two things to look at. One is to say that while there may be certain jobs, and I agree with the earlier speaker, that certain jobs may must have become redundant. But how do I make myself agile and adapt to the new requirement is the question. It's not that the jobs are not there. It's like, when computers came, people thought the typists, everybody thought that it's gone. Or when the horse carriage was there, they thought the cars have come and the horse carriage will go. But they all adapted it to the other way of the people. And I think there'll be enough and more employment in this country and worldwide, but the requirement and the skill set may be a little different. And that is what the challenge should be. Otherwise, what I'm bothered about is there are some 166 people, and I'm assuming there are all these youngsters who are a little worried, saying, oh God, where do we go now? This pandemic, things are not opening up. But I think slowly things will open and jobs will open up. But where will it open up? What do I need to do is a question to be asked to self. That's where I am.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense, Sunil. And it's a good thing that you mentioned that you have been able to close out close to 470 positions in the last year, right? So there is a sort of a misconception that jobs are not there, but they are there. The skill sets are changing, right? The fundamental nature of jobs, but the jobs are there. Understood. Subir, what would you like to add on this question?
I think Sunil also mentioned there are two sides to a coin. And if I take this question specifically around the gaming industry, that industry has benefited a lot, right? So while it has accelerated, I would say, the growth rate of the industry for almost 2 to 3 years, the last 1 year. So gaming as an industry, which was 2019 was 180 billion, will be more than 250 billion in the coming year. Right, so the industry is growing, industry is becoming more. And what is also happening is because it's a very flat and a highly digital led, or digital savvy industry, right? What it is also seeing is that people can be from anywhere. We have hired certain people earlier while we were based in Bangalore, and there were limitations that everyone has to come to Bangalore. We were actually not able to hire some people because they were not maybe too keen or they were too costly and stuff like that. But we've been able to close positions and say that people are very, very fine that, okay, I will be working from a tier 2 city. I'm working from Indore and I will remain there. My parents are there. I have to take care of certain things. I can't move today. Right. So young industry, a lot of youngsters, right? And they have some other responsibilities or benefits or the quality of life, right? So that's a very positive spin that we're seeing, that people can contribute from anywhere, right? And there is a pretty solid, I would say, demand as far as gaming as a whole and mobile gaming in particular, which is what more India is today about, or animation, which is there. So those are revenues which are, I would say, hot.
Got it. Understood. Thanks for that perspective, Sudhir. If I could quickly add my perspective on the fintech space about this question, I would say that according to Michael Page, which is the leading employer, right? They did a talent trends report in 2021, and there over 63% of companies, at least in the BFSI space, expected their headcount to increase by 11%, right? And then there was another sort of 2019 assessment by the NSDC, which is the National Skill Development Corporation. And they mentioned that BFSI will need an additional 1.6 million of skilled workforce by 2022. And as Sunil had also mentioned, right, that more than 50% of the jobs would need reskilling due to changes in the technology. 15 to 20% of the jobs would be very new roles in nature, right? And specifically within BFSI, the upcoming roles could be, let's say, trade finance specialist, credit and risk analyst, wealth management experts, cybersecurity analysts, blockchain experts, among many others, right? So that is how we also see the landscape evolving, at least in the fintech sector, right? Before moving on to the second question, would again invite all of you to participate in the next poll question which we have. So the question is, do you think your job can be automated? Okay, so broadly, I think close to 60% feel that their jobs can be automated, which again tells the threat which can be there in terms of the automation, digitization, which is there, right? And the need for reskilling, upskilling, which is there. Understood. So let's move towards the second question, which is on what are the careers that might go obsolete, right? Given this fact that there's automation, all of that.
Well, what I'm worried about is, 60% of the people have answered saying that their jobs will get automated. Yeah. And one wonders what jobs can do in terms of automation. Is also that while it may get automated, what is the value add that the person who is doing the job is going to do there? Automation doesn't mean it takes away the entire thing away from it. Just look at it, like we have been operating at 365 days, and what are the jobs that get automated? I think the learning development piece went for automation. It went into the digital way. All the, if you look at the entire physical being present there for various kind of interventions from the HR space got automated. Engagement got automated. So I'm thinking that while they got automated, there was much more to come into that space in terms of automation. Even if you look at what are the things that will go away, might be tomorrow in the pharma industry, I'm saying the general physician may go obsolete. Today, if you see in the last 2 years, we have just been doing a video call. There will be a time, or there can be time of the robo surgeries coming in. No longer do you need for minor surgeries, the doctors who have to physically come there, do that, all that, surgical robo. Have I seen a great obsolescence in my industry at this point of time? Other than some of the jobs which will go obsolete is on the shop floor. Robos will surely come in. People need to look at that part where the robots will take over the basic jobs of assembly, welding, which is a repetitive job. I think those jobs will go for a toss, but and the other jobs will come in, which I will talk later. But as of now, I see only these many things which can go obsolete.
Understood. What about you, Subir?
I will maybe like to introduce one more aspect, and I want everyone to keep in mind of that is, one is job becoming obsolete and one is a person becoming obsolete. Job becoming obsolete is a very long-term process. It takes time. Yes, certain jobs will become, because that's the need. Anything that is risky can be repetitive. Anything that can be done as a lens, if I have to say, am I doing the same stuff? Is there a defined set of business rules, right, which I have to run again and again? So in our industry, for example, testing we are seeing, right? So every time we are building and coming out with a new release, the previous portions have to be retested. So that's the job that becomes automated. But anything that is made new, right? Or if I'm doing any sentiment analysis, human behavior concern, then yes, it does require attention, right? It requires some bit of analytics and stuff. It will remain. Increasingly, we find is that a lot of people are not upskilling themselves, not keeping up with what's happening, because tech as an industry was seen as a sunshine industry. You've got a job, you're doing well, right? Inflation is there, so every year you're getting an increment, but you're not really bringing new stuff to the table, right? So if you're not keeping yourself up to date, if you're not keeping abreast of what changes are happening, you would become obsolete. So that period where a company would come and recruit people by thousands and just fill seats, I guess technology is changing a lot. That's not happening anymore. The industry is also moving towards from service to, especially if I look at again, going to gaming, it's more of development, it's product development. And that does require a person applying themselves across the various fields. So that's something which is, if person is mindful of that, I'm pretty sure that they would not run the risk of becoming obsolete.
No, it's a great point. I think, Subir, that the roles, as in might become obsolete, but the individual should not become obsolete. So that is sort of the crux of what you're trying to elaborate on that part. Atif, what would you say?
The sentiment on this, even on this talk, right? We have over 150 participants. And reiterating my earlier point, right? My objective was not to scare potential job seekers into thinking that there are no jobs available. There are lots of jobs. It's just how we position ourselves, right? It's that how do we spin our own backlog of our story? We may have had 2-3 years of past experience in a particular field, and we're now looking to switch job roles, probably move to a different industry altogether. Don't negate your past experience at all, right? In some way or another, it is definitely going to be useful, and it depends on you how you spin that story when you're sitting across, maybe the HR professional, how you position yourself, take some positives from your past as well. And there's also, just to reiterate as well, digital has had the highest boom in the last 2-3 years, right? I don't mean to sound like I'm scaring everyone, but while our revenue may have probably doubled, or grown, multiple times in the last 1 year itself, that does not necessarily mean that we are adding additional job functions, right? And that I can give you a great example of within my unit itself. We had a paid buying team that goes out and buys ad space, right? And back in 2018, we had a 12-member team that was contributing to approximately 12 CR in revenue. Right now, we have a 6-member team that's around half, that's contributing to about 60 crores in revenue. And that's primarily because there have been certain tools which have been integrated, which are AI driven, machine learning, stuff like that, automation, which has skewed us to not really require so many people in that team. Thankfully, though, none of them were let go off. The 6 that we had to actually move, we moved them to a completely different team. We moved them and we switched their job roles into a data analyst. And that's because they could pivot easily. They had the capability to add a skill set to themselves. And I think that's very important, and we need to take that into consideration.
Thanks for that, Atif. And I think a very good example, right? So essentially what you mentioned was that you were able to 5x the revenue at 50% of the headcount as compared to the previous one. But again, for the people who were left, they were retrained and moved to other roles like data analyst, all of that. Understood. Again, quickly, if I have to add my perspective on the BFSI or fintech space, I think while a few sort of traditional banking roles across, let's say, underwriting, customer support, sales, they might be lost towards the fintech boom. Many more are expected to be generated across the technology, product management, risk and compliance space, right? And again, building on what Sunil had told earlier, that manual, repetitive driven tasks, those will be obsolete and they will be rendered ineffective, like those for underwriters, tellers, data verification operators, which we are already seeing now. Startups, a bunch of startups are coming in, which are automating what a sales rep or customer conversation has to happen. There are computer or bots which are coming in to handle customer support queries, right? And increasingly, traditional banks, financial institutions will seek to partner with these fintech companies, as there will be a massive need for reskilling. So before now coming to towards the final question, again, we have a poll question which should come in, and would request if all of us can answer that before we move towards the final question. So the question is, what are you doing to keep yourself upgraded? Majority, 2/3 are doing certifications or degrees, and then the rest, 35%, at work training programs, and a few are not doing right now anything, which is 15%. The final sort of question which I would love to ask and get the panelist view is on how do you stay relevant in 2021, right? We have talked a lot about digitization, upskilling, all of that. So how do you stay relevant, and what are the future jobs which you feel would be in demand in the next few years? So Subir, if you would want to start off with this one.
Relevance, I think what is very, very critical is to be abreast. The technology is changing, right? Any platform that was written even 3 to 4 years back is coming out with something new and different today. That code is obsolete, the design principles, the way of doing stuff, everything is getting changed, right? I've been in the industry for 21 years now. And while the principles would remain same, the way it is being done is being different. And that is the biggest challenge I see. If I have to go and hire, I would like to find, a lot of freshers and 1 or 2 years guys who are much more open-minded. They're willing to experiment more and go back rather than going back to their comfort zones, right? There is a lot of, I would say, people are used to doing certain things that way. That's what they have done. And then they have stopped expanding themselves. Right? And that attitude does not work a lot. We are seeing, PSL said testing is the one area that comes to my mind first, which kinds of getting automated a lot. We're seeing, but if you're understanding your end customer, if you're understanding the behavior and going back towards applying those things in what you are doing, right? Understand the organizations today spend, and any good organization you're working on will spend today efforts to make you realize what is the end goal of what you're doing. You're part of a team. The team is today building something out, right? Now, if you keep yourself limited to your scope, and so I'm asked to do this, I will only move from A to B, right? And I'm not keeping the bigger picture in mind, then you will not grow, prosper, or stay relevant. Right? You have to contribute in that part, understand that and see and come forward and say, okay, why don't we do this? What's not, why are we not, thinking and changing or stuff like that? So I think that's essential. And if you keep those specific attitude and curiosity and fire, it will augur very, very well.
Makes a lot of sense, Subir. Thanks for that. I think one thing which I was just thinking when you were talking about this is the growth versus fixed mindset, which is there, right? So if you feel you are in a fixed mindset frame that your job will be automated and you are not doing anything about it, that puts you at threat. But if you have a growth mindset that you would want to realign your skill sets, then you are probably positioned for the future much better. Atif, if you would want to pitch in on this question.
Honestly, Subir covered almost every point. Excellently. No, I think it was great because you have to be flexible, you have to be agile, you need to think broader, and you need to constantly add skills to your to your own personality as well as what output you provide at the end of the day. I'll just say one line which I think you guys could probably take this as a motto. In whatever job that you do, try to make sure that you become an expert in it. You become irreplaceable in it, but at the same time, what aspects are not specifically your role as well, see if you can add value. Try to become irreplaceable at your current role, your day-to-day functioning. You should be somewhat of an expert in that, but try to add value in pieces which could benefit the organization that you're at as well. Don't underestimate the power of social media. Recruiters tend to take a good look at that, and I'm telling you from experience. Make sure your LinkedIn, your social media is up to date. Try to position yourself as somebody that you want to be 5 years from now. Keep those constant updates going. Talk industry rather than just job role, and try to position yourself as a thought leader. I think that should be enough.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. Sunil, what about you on this question?
Agree with Atif that, whatever little was left, Atif also has cleared it. So I would say that do. But I completely agree with Atif when he says that make yourself indispensable, make yourself important. In my day-to-day working, if you look at analytics, well, there is digital, there is analytics, people are getting the output, but there is somebody at the back end who is reading that, who is giving me conclusions, who is saying that this analytics means this. Yeah. Somebody is burning his midnight oil to read those analytics. And I think what we need to do, because I wonder what these students who have just come out in the last 1 year or 2 years, what would they do different today? Because they have all been taught from the old school, right? And suddenly you are saying, no, guys, you become analysis, you do analysis, you do robotics, you do artificial intelligence, you do genomics, you do, everything. And I'm sure they must be wondering, now what? Yeah. So I think it's a tough time where you need to be agile to say that what are those short-term things that I can do, be aware on the media, on the short-term courses, and people who are already employed, please don't say no to anything. If you are getting an opportunity, grab it by both the hands, burn your midnight oil, and make yourself absolutely valuable to do that. Otherwise, if somebody is going to tell me I have been a secretary, I will tell her to go home, her or him to go home. But if some secretary tells me, sorry, I'll be this, or I'm going to do this for you differently, I'll do that. Right? Like we as a pharma company, we were doing exhibitions, galore. We were spending around 10 crores a year to attend various exhibitions. And in one shot, all the exhibitions went away. Now the entire team of digital marketing, what does it do? Right? So there was not digital marketing, the marketing. And then what we had to do and move around saying that, okay, can we do digital? Can we do something different? And some of them got absorbed. Some of them who didn't move in and got acclimatized had to move on. So I think that is the crux of the issue for me from a personal experience. And I completely agree with Subir, Atif, and everybody else.
Understood. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that. I think all three of you have covered everything, but a couple of points if I have to add on this specifically from the fintech lens. I think one is that what we are seeing is that how IT jobs were there in the last few decades. It was very aspirational. I think a similar thing is happening at least in the fintech related jobs and the scenario, right? So when Infosys, Wipros of the world, they were considered safe, secure jobs. Now people want to join these tech startups which are coming up, all of them. And second point is that what Atif had mentioned earlier, and just building on that, is the existing knowledge base of people in the industry itself, in the fintech, like let's say insurance agents, financial advisors, salesperson, that will continue to remain relevant. The only thing will be that the nature of dissemination will change. They might be increasingly accessed online. The manner of going to the customers might change. So that is how I think you might stay relevant, as others have also pointed out, reskilling, upskilling, all of that. And apart from that, just maintaining and understanding what are the future trends in the jobs, right? Great. So I think we do have time for some questions, and we have got a bunch of questions. I'll ask the first question, which is on what are recruiters and companies looking for a candidate in 2021?
So I'll tell you what I am looking for in my business. And one thing which has changed completely at the leadership positions, as well as say a middle or a junior level, is the empathy, is the agility of the person. Because see, professional competence, I will get dime a dozen. If I'm asking for any recruit to come with 5-10 years of experience, they will, suppose I'm asking for a finance guy, they will be having that basic competency. But what I'm looking differently is the agility, the will to, move that extra mile, and the ability to adapt to various things in life. Because this is no longer going to, I'm very clear that I'm not going to come back to office. While people may be looking for this whole need of coming back to office, I'm not going to. So the adaptability is very high for me. And empathetic leadership is very high for me. An empathetic person is very important for me, So these are some of the things that I will look at, assuming that the basic competencies is a given. That's not where I'm compromising.
I think what Sunil said is so resonating with me. And the thing that we are looking for, and specifically I would like to add, keeping in mind the point Keshav also mentioned that, there is in digital world, in the tech world, there is space coming in for product development, startups and small industries which are coming and going, which are, trying to do different things, being founder of two and running those two businesses. For us, what is very critical is, why are you coming? Earlier, there were a lot of people joining tech industry because that was the best paying job. You do an engineering, you do NCA, BCA, or join and done a BCA or MCA, and you are coming and joining because that's where the job market is, right? And that works very well in certain aspects of those business, right? For the digital world, and where you have mega projects and you have big teams, you're part of a 500-member team, 800-member team, doing some core banking stuff, doing some stuff, and which is at risk, in my opinion, and automation. And if you look at the numbers, what Infosys, TCS, and all are looking at. But this innovative and the entrepreneurial and the product development mindset needs you to be more committed. It needs you to have that passion that, okay, why am I joining? Right? What have I done beyond what my university has taught me? Because that course is outdated. That stuff is outdated. What have you done as an individual and passion? Everyone wants to play games. What have you done? What do you know about that industry? What do you know about where you are going? If you're going and appearing in an interview, what do you know about them? What have you prepared yourself? Those kinds of readiness and the passion is what is very, very important from a perspective of kind of industries that we are in and what we are looking for.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that, Subir and Sunil. The next couple of questions I'll probably combine because they look similar. So the next question is that, how do I pivot if I am a mid-career professional, or how do I stay relevant if I'm a senior professional?
So I think we covered it
Exactly.
more likely. Yeah, we've covered most of this. I think you need to spin your story a little bit. You need to add certain skills to your expertise. You need to position yourself differently. I think these are all elements which we've already covered.
Got it. Makes sense.
Just to add some value to what Atif says, as a tip, it helps, right? If you're managing certain things, certain operations, right? So the way to look at it is not just, okay, I was dealing with vendors, I was dealing with this, I was managing the operations, and I can take these skills to another job or to a bigger scale and a wider application of the same stuff, right? If you narrow yourself to that aspect, you will not be able to reposition yourself. So
whoever has asked this question, and I may be a little harsh, how do I stay relevant is a question to ask yourself. Yeah. If I have to stay relevant, I'm an HR guy. And if I have to stay relevant, just a simple example, I need to understand that my function is going digital. I need to understand that my function is more looking at engagement as my driver. I need to understand that my people are looking for much more help and empathy than any time else in this time of the world. If I don't understand, then I should not be there in the job. Yeah, and I'm saying, who do I ask that to be relevant? Me, ask that question to yourself, man. I'm sorry, I may sound a little this thing, but how do you pivot? Come on. If you are in a job, who knows better than yourself how to pivot yourself?
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that, Sunil. I think, yeah, empathy, creativity, anything of that sort can't be automated. And obviously you need that, especially in the HR space. Understood.
No,
Uh,
I'm just saying that HR I use
Yeah.
as an example.
Got
For
it.
even the smallest denominator and the highest denominator of a leadership, even if the CEO is there, he
Yes.
bloody well needs to know what is going to make him relevant and pivot.
Right. Absolutely. Makes sense. Okay. The next question is then, what do you think about the recent trend of people who are continuously doing online certifications?
See, only doing online certification is not going to help. There are hundreds of them, including the Stanfords and the Harvards, have come out with every damn thing. Trust me. The job that I have, the thought that I should have is, what kind of online is not bad, but I'm saying, what is it that I should do to make myself relevant and it is adding value to myself? Then it's worth it. But if it is just adding some 10 degrees to your online thing, then it's not worth it. If somebody wants to do a digital course which helps you in your field or in artificial intelligence, I'm saying, please go ahead, do it. There's enough and more. There's nothing wrong with that. But please do it with a conscious understanding of how it's going to help you professionally and personally in your career. That's more important.
Got it. Understood. Okay. The next question, I think, probably will require each of your views, which is on specific industries, is that what will be the impact of 5G on healthcare, digital marketing, gaming, and fintech?
So 5G, okay, so I'm not sounding this thing, but everything is helping us, right? The way people are, one of the advantages of digital and other aspects is that you have more time on hands. If you're doing retail shopping, if you're able to shop for your soap and stuff online, there is some free time coming. Where will that free time go? That free time will go in, hopefully a part of it will go into gaming, gamification, and the world is becoming social, right? So today you will play and you're engaging yourself. The whole concept of, there's a huge around, development happening in, to throw certain terms, which would be of interest of people to read. There's something called metaverse, which is you are creating an alternate identity of yourself or something in the digital space. Then you have the augmented reality and the virtual reality coming in. So now these spaces, as technology evolves, as the speed evolves, as the processing power of the device evolves, right? Maybe a few years down the line, we would be, having this conference where the impact of the speakers and will be as good as we being personally there, right? So whatever we saw in the whole Star Trek 85, 86 generation, Scotty beam me up, you will see that happening. So 5G will enable that. It will make things faster, better, and more accessible, social. So it's pretty good. It's exciting.
Since I was in telecom for almost a decade, somebody asked 5G. 5G is a spectrum bandwidth which will only better the connectivity and customer experience. So it will only help that part of it. But the other part of all the digital and all the innovation, that remains. So 5G, how will it help? I'm sure it will help in terms of the customer experience, the connectivity, the more innovation about it. That's all about it. That's the only relation I see in terms of 5G with the other part of the world. So yes, it will help, but 5G is different and the digital world is different, right? It will help the digital world, surely.
Okay. But just to answer that question, 5G, see, when we move from 3G to 4G, you saw tilt and shift in a lot of the platforms as well. Let's just take, since I'm from the digital industry, let's look at Facebook. When we opened our Facebook, there was a time where the first 3 or 4 scrolls were just video. And what enabled that, right? The algorithm changed of Facebook to promote video content. And if we were still stuck on 2G or 3G, the video content would not be having that good an experience as it did when we moved to 4G, right? And that's what I foresee, right? When we move to 5G, we'll see higher bandwidth formats of content being absorbed. You may see something like a Tata Sky, cable TV going obsolete, while a Netflix and an Amazon and all of that gets prevalent. But India is still at that point of digitization. So while 5G may arrive at our metro cities, there's still a majority, a big portion of the country which is still not even on internet, right? And we'll need to still move towards that digitization piece. And I think that's going to lead to a lot more forward-thinking job roles as well. Just getting back to the job role question, we can see certain pivotal changes in certain industries, right? Just to give you one example, sorry, I'm just taking a little longer, but what I noticed, which was quite interesting, is in 2019 to 2020, the Indian advertising industry slumped from 68,000 crores in terms of spends. It slumped to 56,000 in the year 2020. That was a 17% drop. However, the digital industry jumped from 16,000 crores to 20,000 crores in the same year span. So while allocations in the ad spends dropped, the allocations towards digital increased, primarily because people then resorted towards spending more time on their mobile phones. So that's primarily going to happen as well as we move forward. We need to be a little more mindful in where we are investing our time and our education.
Got it. Makes sense. Aditya, thanks for that. The next question is from Munira, which is on what do you think is the impact of work from home on the jobs for the future, and what is the future of self-employment?
It's a little dynamic question as to I don't know what happens next, but very frankly, what we see is we are literally burning out from work from home. Nobody has lost job in our organization. Everybody's working, but surely as a head of HR, I'm looking at all those jobs where I'm still paying salary, but they are not adding value to my life. Now, those are the support functions who have not been able to, add something different. Otherwise, whoever has been able to add, I have not touched them at all. So I think work from home here is going to stay. Work from home has very frankly given more output than work from office. Okay, that's a given fact, and it is also saving a lot of money for the organizations in terms of the travel, coffee, tea, rental, all that. So work from here is going to stay. The jobs are going to stay. And people who are not able to add value. So I'm sure there are at least 10, 15 roles which will translate into many more jobs, which may become obsolete because they are no longer required, because they're not even in a space where they can add value to their professional life. So I'm holding them from a human angle, because if I lose out, if I tell them to move on, they'll not know what to do beyond that, because they have worked there for 20 years, 25 years. They are courier guys, there are canteen guys, there are, the messenger boys. What do I do with them? So we as an organization, we are still holding with a humane face, but work from home is here to stay. New jobs, I'm telling you, new jobs, I'm having in HR enough and more attrition. So there are enough attrition, enough jobs coming in. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. If you are relevant, nothing has changed.
The next question is post COVID-19, recruitment of freshers has been reduced dramatically. What can a fresher do to enter the industry?
See, it's a pretty wide. So again, as I said, when we are looking for a person, we do hire freshers and fair amount of people coming in. And one line that I like to say that the majority of the innovation has come from the young ones, not from the older guys, right? So whether it was Zuckerberg writing or Larry Page, Sergey Brin, they're all students who wrote and think, where you have to have a different lens. Look for, if you're running after brand names and stuff like that, bigger organizations, I would say there is a tendency of elimination. They already have too many applications. They have too many people trying to go for it, right? India is also built around a lot of entrepreneurs and smaller companies, 25, 30, 40, 50 people companies, right? Who are doing amazing work, right? But they would need you to, burn the midnight oil, candle at both sides, whatever you want to add. right? So you have to be prepared for that, try for them, see, prepare yourself before you go for the interview, what they are doing, what are their thought process, what is the culture they are promoting. You find enough material on social media, stuff on those companies, and see how you can add value. And if you're going prepared into that, if you just send me a resume and saying, okay, this is what I've done a BCA, I've done this, it's a generic resume. It's not going to stand out, right? And then it is a process of elimination. I would look at whether you've come from a good college, where have you come from? I look at those elements more, this thing. But the fact is that if you're out, that means maybe your college did not have the placement, it didn't have companies coming into it, right? You will have to highlight more of your abilities, your skills, other stuff which is very, very relevant to the target company you're aiming for. And don't lose hope. It's not coming, right? The people are hiring, right? Sunil said he's looking at people. Atif, I'm sure, wants people. I want people. Everyone I talk to wants people. But there's a gap in terms of getting the right people. And are you the right person, right? Can you stand out? Can you prepare yourself for that? I guess that is what would be most relevant. Even if you scored 50% marks in your graduation, 11th, 12th, it's not done good. That's not a setback, right? One should not really lose hope कि अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता, numbers नहीं आए, कुछ कारणों से आए, right? Maybe at that point of time, for whatever reasons. But today, if you're going in and if you get into the job, both, you have to now say, okay, I have to work harder. I have to now get my career on track from today. That's what I have in my hand today. What's past is past. This is what is there. How am I going to utilize today and tomorrow? And you will do well.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that, Subir. What about freelance consultants who wear multiple hats? How do you think their roles will grow in the next few years?
If I have to look at freelance consultant, there are enough and more projects given to the large projects given to some of the big fives, but there are enough and more. So I know a plethora of people. So there is enough and more not jobs, but projects for freelance consultants. I know quite a few of them who are working with me. And unfortunately, I also know enough of them who are struggling. So it's a tough time for freelance consultants. And again, the same thing applies to everybody. If you have value, so I have consultants who are adding value to my life at this point of time. I'm giving them enough and more projects. Who are the old kind of a consultant, I'm saying, sorry, I don't have it. Yeah. So that's the range that I'm having. But somebody is good enough. I think there's enough and more work to be done.
Sorry, but just to add to that, as an agency also, we look at certain resources for a freelance piece, right? And I'll be very honest with you. We do have a couple of freelancers who literally don't have even a minute to spare because they're so overworked. They're doing so much work for agencies like us because they add value, like Sunil sir said. I think when you're a freelancer, you're an entrepreneur as well. So you need to be a good businessman. You need to take on the right kind of projects. You need to foresee, is this going to be a burden or is this going to be a boon? Is this worth my time or not? And don't just take up everything. You need to obviously equate it and take that decision before you take it on.
Okay, great. I think we can wrap up the session, but before that, would ask each of you any final thoughts or parting thoughts before we sort of conclude the session.
I think it was a great session. Everybody got lots of insight, I'm sure, including us. I'm sure three of us also gained certain insight into different industries. I'd like to summarize by saying, don't be disheartened if you're applying for a job and you don't get in. Don't think that this industry is not for you. I think you need to look at your own self as a third person. Judge yourself, see what your strengths are, and push that forth in those interviews, and also probably apply to certain positions where you feel you can add value. You don't want to be just getting a job where you're probably going to get the pay that you want, but it's not really going to keep you on your toes long term, and thereby you will not be able to impress your employers. So look for a job that suits your personality as well. And if you're a fresher, there's nothing like starting broad, exploring, switching roles as well, switching industries in the first 2 years if need be, and then probably cementing your position?
See, as a fresher, as a starting point, just to narrate, I come from a small town in Kanpur, studied from there. First jobs and all, you have to look for what is it that you're getting into. Don't put constraints in terms of salary. Don't put constraints in terms of this industry, this town. I see a lot of people coming with a different kind of baggage on the back. I want to do this. I want to do this. And what do you have to offer to that? Are you having something? You are in this mode where you have to learn, contribute, grow, right? So if you don't put unnecessary this thing and you're willing to slug it out, right, for the first 2 years, 3 years of a career, and gain value, experience, get into the right habits, boom, you are set, right? And not only just getting into this bucket. Okay, what am I bringing? What can I do? What's important? That's critical. That's very, very critical. And once you are into that habit, I have not seen anyone not do well.
Great. Thanks for that, Sudhir. Sunil, any final thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I just want to say for these new youngsters who somebody asked a question saying, what about the newcomers and the, what happens to them? And I think one more thing I wanted to add is that look at what projects you all have done during your second year. Maybe just convert that into a more valid one in the CV. And also at the pre-placement time. Yeah. To talk more on the project so that it gives you a different flavor rather than saying I'm so-and-so from XLRI or XIMB or ABC or NMIMS or IM. Doesn't work. So you have to be a little different. The second thing I want to say, I hope that this 100+ people have got something out of this whole seminar. But trust me that one thing that you need to do is that don't be tentative in this. When you need to go where you need to go, be confident and go. Trust yourself. One rejection is not good enough to tell me no. Let there be 100 rejections, there will be positive, because tough times and you will survive. Trust me, just be confident about it. One interview not going well and you come back saying, oh God, the world is drowning. No, it's not. There are enough and more opportunities. Keep finding confidence in yourself. Trust me, things will happen. I don't give up your trust.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for that, Sunil. I think if I have to summarize in one line and what Sunil also mentioned, I think it's that tough times don't last. Tough people do. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Great. So thanks everyone for your time, and thanks a lot, Sunil, Subir, and Atif, for your valuable inputs. I'm sure the audience found it very useful. I'll hand it over now to Salim.
So great. That was a really good session. Some great learning. I'm sure the session has been quite impactful for all the participants. On behalf of the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board India, I would like to thank all the speakers, Subir, Sunil, Atif, and Keshav, for taking their time and giving us their invaluable insight. And I would also like to thank the participants for joining in. Our next session will be on Soft Skills 101, which will be held on September 12th, where we will cover interview and resume tips, and that might help you land a job. Again, thanks everyone, and Yali Madan.